Hey everybody, what is going on? Welcome back or welcome to my channel where I talk about public speaking because I love it and I want to help you too. My name is Yvonne Armenta and I'm your host for all things Chats with Yvonne, that is across all different social media platforms. And today's video is going to be about hosting a virtual meeting. And so I know that means a lot of things, but today I'm going to give you some of my tips for doing that. And there's going to be a part 2 to this where I will talk about some of my favorite and most used Zoom capabilities to make the meeting a little bit more engaging. Now it's focused on Zoom because that's what I use and those are the meetings that I'm mostly in. I am not as familiar with Google Meets, but if you want a video on that, I can do my research and get that over to you right quick. Or you can sort of think about the capabilities that Zoom has and how you can transfer those over. But that's the video for today, not right now. After you watch the video, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. If you like it, it lets me know that you want more of this kind of content. Comment, speak your mind in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have more ways of engaging people virtually. I think that is the talk of the town. That is what we are all focused on. And subscribe if you want more of this kind of content, if you want to keep up with my public speaking journey, enhance your public speaking journey. A lot of what I post about is around, again, public speaking. I also post all of my podcast episodes here. That is a Chats with Yvonne podcast. You can find the link for the latest video in the description box and also find it across platforms wherever you listen to your podcasts. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I had to move this piece of pelusa that was there. Also, I'm still trying to figure out my background and I just ordered some stuff on Amazon that I think is gonna make for a cooler background than this, but this is where I'm chilling today on my couch. And I did write notes down because I wanted to make sure that I didn't ramble too much as I'm doing right now. So let me just go ahead and get started. So the first thing that I have on here is to start with some music. I feel like the smaller meetings, it kind of depends on the size, right? If you're hosting a Zoom webinar, for example, maybe I would say more than 20 people. At the very beginning, play some music just to avoid that awkward, hey, how are you doing? How's the weather? As an introvert myself, sometimes I just feel a lot of pressure. Actually, I'm an ambivert because I'm between intro and extro. I find it very difficult to sit in silence. I just feel really awkward. So either what will happen, and that's a bad way to start off the meeting in the first place. So what will happen is I'll either disconnect and right off the bat just turn my camera off until something is going on in the meeting, or I will just talk and awkwardly talk. So to avoid that and to kind of just meet people where they are, wherever they are, I get a bomb-ass playlist going and just play that at the beginning of the Zoom call. And then once we're all together, that means all the presenters, everybody that's expected to show up to the meeting is there, then I'll go ahead and get started. It's also a bit of a icebreaker. If someone really likes the song that you're playing, it's it just gets people going, right? And I usually will pick a playlist that goes with the theme of the meeting. So if it's a company-wide meeting and we're there to talk about some not so fun stuff, and by not so fun, I mean boring kind of information that everybody needs to know, but it's there's only a certain way you can deliver it. That kind, I will usually put music. So it kind of just depends. Let me know if y'all want me to put a playlist together because, I don't mean to brag, but I have a pretty good playlist for a lot of meetings. So just let me know if you need that. I'm happy to send that over and share my Spotify playlist. The second thing that I have on here is to set your intentions and your goals. Now, this kind of brings us back to the basics of at least for me, when I've been in a classroom, when I've been in a training, for example, the intention and the goal for the day is really thoroughly explained because I feel like it centers us in where we want to be, where we're going. And the important thing to do when you're facilitating a virtual meeting is have a discussion about it. So it's more than just saying, hey, this is our objective, this is our goal for this meeting. And it's actually about, does anybody have any questions about it? Any thoughts about it? What are you excited about it? Based on this, right? And to ask these questions more, to phrase them a little bit more what does this make you feel? No right or wrong answers, right? So just to have that initial connection with the objective of the meeting. And this again is for meetings where maybe you are going to be engaging in conversation a little bit more throughout. And the important thing to note is that once you state your objective and intention in the beginning, you kind of come back to it. So every activity that you do, you can go back to that intention and be like, hey, do you all think we've fulfilled this? Or what about what we just engaged in connects to this intention that we set? So that'll continue to keep people engaged with why you're there. So if at any point someone like zones out, like, oh yes, I'm here because of that, right? Then I have to start, after you've done that, you've played some music for a little bit to avoid any kind of awkward conversation, like, hey, what's going on? Then you go in as the host of the meeting, you say, hey, this is our intention for the day. If anything, I hope that you get this out of the day. You've planned the different points in your presentation or your meeting where you will go back to that intention. You want to kick off the actual experience with a unifying experience, and that can be very different. So it's kind of hard to sit down and say you should do this particular unifying experience, because it just sort of depends what kind of meeting you're in, right? And so I wrote down a couple things that you could do, and that is one, starting off with a virtual game. I was just in a training and we started off with Scribble.io, and it was a smaller group, I think maybe 14 of us, and it was just fun. It's an online game, so everybody, you share your screen and everybody's seeing stuff, or you give everybody a link, they sign up with their name, and you start playing Pictionary virtually, right? And that creates a unifying experience, because some of you are like, ooh, I'm terrible at guessing stuff, or I just don't know how to draw for shit. So, it's just kind of funny, and you're engaging with it. And some people have their mute on or off, but creating that space of, okay, let's get comfortable with the fact that we're all human, and we'll probably laugh at how terrible my drawings are, unless you're really magically, creatively inclined. But anyway, so that's one way of doing it. And thinking about what will humanize everybody while you're in this virtual space, right? So bring the human connection to the space more and more. What's more humanizing than I can't draw anything but stick figures, right? Or I literally was guessing something else, because you can see when people are guessing stuff, right? And part of the challenge with hosting a virtual experience is that how can you humanize the experience when we're not physically in the same room, right? So creating common ground and creating this unifying experience can also happen through the chat box. Again, part 2 of this video, we'll talk about how you can use Zoom to use a chat box, its poll features, all that kind of stuff. Play a video at the very beginning. Think about what the objective is and base all of your engagement points on that. For example, if the point of a meeting is to say, I want you all to understand the vision, or I want you all to understand humor. Let's just say that. Sorry, I don't know what that was. I want you all to understand humor. What is humor? How do you tell a joke? Start with a video that clearly outlines a joke, right? Something that is universal, something that everybody can connect to, and use that as a kickoff and foundation for the rest of the meeting. This is pretty simple, and I think that a lot of us already do this, but have every single person introduce themselves and give them an exact outline. I think that when we are engaging with people virtually, it's harder to tell whether someone is a little bit more of an introvert, an extrovert, maybe a combination of both. So level out the playing field and give people an exact outline of how to introduce themselves. So you'll say something like, give me your name, your role, and your favorite color, right? You can ask something cooler than that, or a fun fact. And by the way, think of a fun fact. I don't know. I can never think of a fun fact. My fun facts are just always hella lame. And everyone else has cool ones. Like, I'm learning how to fly. I'm getting my scuba diving thing. I'm like, wow, I'm lame. Anyway, try not to make your audience feel lame. So choose things that are universal. Choose questions that anybody can really answer, but that will get people to reveal something about themselves that no one else knew about. And The next one that I have on here, the next note, is to make people feel connected. Now, that is the entire point of this whole thing, right? How do you do that in a virtual space? So, one of the coolest ways that I've seen this be done is at a last company-wide meeting that I was a part of. The host, and we had talked through this, but he had the idea of bringing himself into the space, right? And how do you do that? You can't physically, I can't jump through the computer and be like, hey, cool plants, like I'm here with you, right? But the way that you could do that throughout is when someone is speaking, you as the host, some people don't like showing their backgrounds, and that's totally fine, so they have the blurred effect. But throughout, if you notice, hey, I really like that painting you have, I really like those flowers you have, like making sure that people know that you see them, but you also see things around them, and making them acknowledging their physical surroundings. Another thing, which I think is a really cool way of using technology, which is, again, goes back to what my previous coworker had done, is at this point, pretty much everybody has either Alexa, or what is the other one? Let's just say Alexa, right? Everyone has an Alexa in their homes. And what he did was he said, hey, Alexa, play blank song, right? And everybody that had an Alexa, they started, bursting it out in the chat, because obviously they were on mute, but in the chat, they were like, oh my God, I just started playing this song. So how cool of an experience is that? It's kind of like a shock to the system. You're listening in, you are surrounded by just yourself, or kids running around, or dogs barking, or birds chirping, whatever it is, but then all of a sudden it's interrupted by this song that now everybody is listening to at the same time, because someone on your screen said, hey, Alexa. If you have an Alexa at home right now and this happened, like, please let me know in the comments. That would be so freaking cool. But I think that was a really cool way of bringing people together, almost physically, right? Like, now we are in your space. Now we have created a unifying experience with all of us in different parts of the world and through our computers. Hey, Editing Yvonne here. I wanted to point out really quickly here that I assumed folks had the technology, right? And so I want to be really cognizant of the fact that for example, there's some teachers, right, that maybe are teaching students that maybe only have a laptop or don't have any of that at all. So I'm assuming a lot of tech access throughout this video. So I wanted to just call that out and say that this video in particular is assuming that folks have the technology at home, that they're using it every day. Now, if you want me to create a video where I talk a little bit more about lack of access to tech and how to engage people in that way, or what sorts of things you could do, please do let me know, because that is a very real thing, and I am completely 100% aware that I am approaching this from the perspective of people have access to the technology. Now, this part, and I'll show you this part in part 2 of the Zoom video, but bring people into different journeys through your backgrounds. So Zoom has the ability of changing our backgrounds, and you can add movies to it. So it doesn't necessarily only have to be a background of something, but in the second portion of this video, and I'll let you know where it starts at this. I'll put the minutes right here or something so that you can skip to that if that's what you want to go take a look at. But you can do things like bring people through an experience from your background, have the background reflect what you're actually talking about. It's just a really cool way to engage people, to keep people visually stimulated, right? It can be difficult to see a shared screen in a presentation, but if you're looking at someone speak and their background is changing, you don't want it to be distracting, but if it goes with what they're talking about, that can be a really cool tool for engagement. Now, this one's something that I noticed someone at our trainings doing, and I thought was really effective for keeping my attention and for feeling like we were in the same room. And that is, there was a presentation happening, and when presentations were happening, the presenter would ask a question. And while the presenter asked a question, and if someone raised their hand to answer, or he called on someone or whatever it was, you would unshare the screen. And I thought that was awesome because it makes you, one, as the host, you are attentively listening to the person, but it allows everybody in the room to see that person enlarged, right? You're not seeing them as a small portion of the screen compared to the presentation, and everybody sort of has control over their own view, but you're seeing them again as the whole. So it again, it's like a shock to the system where you are in presentation mode, you're just looking at the deck or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden it's like back to the people, right? And so try to do that wherever you can. Is don't keep your screen shared. I mean, unless you don't want transitions to be weird and annoying, but every once in a while when you are bringing people together in conversation, zoom out, stop sharing your screen, and just show faces. Again, I think like shock to the system is probably the theme for this. Think about how you can shock people, things that people don't expect. Second and last thing is do stuff together that everybody can see. Now, again, this could be like your backgrounds. This could be, for example, at one of my latest trainings, they did a word cloud, right? So I think the system is, type in word cloud on Google and with shareable link, and you send this link out to everybody, and everybody you don't even have to input your name, right? You could just start inputting words, ask a question like, when I say this, what do you think of? Depending on what your training is, what you're actually doing, have people create meaning together. The cloud is a really good way to visually see it. It's a good way to participate. People are actually typing stuff into the Zoom cloud, or the Zoom cloud, the word cloud, and you're seeing it, you're creating meaning together. And then again, here you go back to your intention and your goal, like, hey, what things do you find that are connecting here? And then the very last one, which I think is the most important, is to be inclusive of your audience. And that is, in all of the activities that you have going, keep different styles of learning, keep different styles of personalities in mind. So do activities and engage with your audience in ways that are inclusive of introverts, extroverts, ambiverts, which is a combination of the two, because that will really dictate how people feel after having been in that meeting. And I know it's easier said than done, but take a look at your agenda, write these things down, create an outline of how you will engage people, and think about yourself. Are you an introvert, extrovert, right? And think about, okay, me as an introvert, I would engage with this activity in this way. Think about when you were in school too. One of the worst feelings, and I hate when people do this, is they're giving a presentation and they're like, I like to call on people, by the way. So instead of me truly enjoying the learning experience now at this point, I'm just worried and concerned the whole time about being called. And it just takes me back to like my college days when you're in class and you've done the reading, but you still somehow feel like you're lacking in the knowledge, and it blocks me from actually being truly engaged and having a positive experience with it. So don't do that. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But again, remain inclusive and think about the things that you find fun, right? At the end of the day, you want it to be fun and engaging, and you are also a person. You are also somebody that engages or doesn't engage during Zoom calls. What things have worked for you? What things do you wish someone did a little bit more of? Now, hopefully those things are helpful. I will list a couple of things in the description box that you can do, like different activities, or I'll show you the platform for the cloud, the word cloud thing. All of that will be in the description. And of course, follow Chats with Yvonne, because I do post a little bit more detailed stuff there, and like, what are they called? Graphics, where I tell you a step-by-step. I've posted a mini whiteboard tutorial over on my Instagram as well, so you can look through that. And now we are going to go into part 2 of this video, which is how to optimize Zoom to engage your audience.
All right, everybody, let's do this. So here I am in the Zoom application. I am typing some stuff in the chat box. This is typically how you can start off. As I mentioned, you can start off with some music, or you can even make this an actual question, whether you decide to do it via chat so that you can see everybody that is responding, or you can do it via a poll. So this is a cool way of just being like, hey, just hang around, listen to this awesome playlist that I put together, and dance, 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 dance. All right, now I am exiting out of this because you can do that. This is the view that you get. I'm going to go up to the top corner, go to Zoom preferences. You can look at this video. Here's something I just discovered. I can touch up my appearance. Like texture, no texture. Kind of weird. I don't like those, but if you do that. What I want to focus on here is background and filters. You can do this SFA area one. If you ask a question, hey, what's your favorite food? Lentils is mine. Spotlight. You can just play around with the different backgrounds here. If you're like, hey, have you listened to the latest podcast episode of Chats with Yvonne? Let's talk safe spaces. You can do that. Promote something cool that you saw on the internet that you want to share with people. Little reminders throughout the presentation or meeting. Something funny like, I'm strong. And here, this is cool because if you're a teacher, you can add a background, and this can be something you find online or even an actual picture of your classroom, your physical classroom, but you can type up the intent or the goal for the meeting that day. If you're on fire, want to be a little bit funny. And here we're getting into the videos. These are pretty cool because they're actually moving behind you. I love this background here. And I'll link where I downloaded it from, but I don't know, just imagine the kind of meeting you're setting and how cool it would be. Now, this is in a coffee shop. This is pretty cool. If you are having a one-on-one meeting with someone, it could be a cool way of just engaging and making you feel like you're somewhere that you're really not. And these are cool. These are video filters. I never really use these, but these are definitely an option. So at this point, I'm just going to click through a couple of the Zoom filters. If you crack a joke, LOL, ha ha ha, post this one. Now, I will say that these Zoom filters and backgrounds, depending on what you're doing throughout the presentation, can be kind of hard to get used to. But if you kind of just keep this tab open and change around the filters, familiarize yourself before going to the meeting, it could make it very, very fun. Enough of that. Let's go ahead and exit. I think I'll keep us at this coffee shop. I want to show you the whiteboard. Now, this is a cool engagement tool. Anybody can go to it. So you'd essentially share your screen. People go on over to their whiteboard and start typing stuff. Let's say you have a prompt or you want to have a message that everybody sees, give each other kudos, whatever it is. You go on this platform, you can stamp. So I stamped with the heart, with the star. And that's almost like people giving kudos. So imagine if you're in a classroom or you're in a brainstorming session, you typically would have a whiteboard or a piece of paper or something that everybody can see, and you're actively all going up there and writing something. This is a cool way to just have people write virtually. So you set up an idea, you ask a question, people write their ideas on the whiteboard, and if someone agrees with it or if someone's like, yep, I was going to say that, you can reinforce it with a little heart, a little star, whatever stamp you want to use. You can draw as I just drew here. And then I'm going to use the text box to just ask a couple of different questions. How would you describe yourself? And it's kind of awkward when people watch you type, or no one's watching me, but I know that you're out there. So let's give shout outs so people could start giving shout outs. What is your definition of fun? Now at this point, I'm just kind of making up questions, but these are the kinds of things that you could do on the whiteboard. Now we'll go ahead and stop the share screen. And some other things to keep in mind is, if you want to share sound but not your screen, you can definitely do that. Advanced allows you to you only share computer audio. If you aren't, if you're at the beginning, you're playing music, you kind of just want to share your audio. It allows different integrations with a couple of different files. And the reactions are important. At the very beginning of your Zoom conversation, you can say, hey, remember to use the reactions. We're all muted, so these are an added way to kind of just interact. People can raise their hand, lower their hand. You can even make emojis, the reactions. Your participant list, this is where you'll always be able to see people. And as the host, you can kind of control if you want to let them unmute themselves or you just want to not. Again, kind of depends on the meeting that you're hosting. And here I was trying to look for the polls, but I'm pretty sure you have to do the polls before your polls come up when you have, I think, multiple people on the call. So now this is something new that I actually hadn't explored yet. So you'll see me kind of stumble on this one a little bit, or not stumble, just I have to go to a different link to add. But this is pretty cool. You can add applause. So if you want to applaud someone, they can actually hear you giving them an applause. So what you'll do is, you'll add and it'll take you over to log into your Zoom account, and you'll probably add these integrations there. I would suggest you look through a couple of these, see what things already integrate with some of the systems that you have, and use them. This, for example, is trivia. I didn't even know Zoom had its own trivia application, and I think that's awesome. There at the bottom, you see board icebreaker background. So that's pretty awesome. That officially completes the Zoom mini demo.
All right, everybody. I hope that you found that super helpful. And if you did or you didn't, let me know in the comments below. Share some ideas too. I think right now we're all looking for ways to keep ourselves engaged with content, but at the same time, also if you're hosting meetings, if you're a teacher, if you are facilitating any kind of meetings, you want to find ways to engage your audience. So sharing knowledge is the best way to go. Yeah, comment down below, let me know, like this video, remember to subscribe as well, and I am really thankful that you took some time to spend a little bit of time with me. Oh, before we go, I'm trying to get into a regular cadence of posting on YouTube, so for now, something that I can realistically keep for now, I hope to be doing one video every week, sometime in the future when I get my shit together. But for now, my goal is to post bi-weekly. So every other Friday, I will try to have a new video up here for you all, because I love public speaking and I want you all to love it too. And part of that is learning together and creating conversations and having conversations and all of that fun stuff. So expect a new video every other Friday from the Chats with Yvonne channel. If you don't already, go ahead and follow me on IG. If you listen to the podcast, leave a review. Let me know what you think. It really helps me, and it helps other people sort of discover us as well. So again, thank you all so much for being here. I truly do appreciate you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, everybody.